this list of numbers is what's happening over here. So if I wanted to make that list of numbers based on some child record numbers, right? The idea is I just need to replace that part of all of this with the numbers from the thing over there. QuickChart. If you're not familiar with QuickChart, like if you just go to QuickChart.io, it is a website that allows you to generate chart images with a very simple API type of thing. The way that it works is literally just through a URL. You've got this little opening bit here, and then everything else is all of the individual code that you want to use to generate whatever kind of chart you're dealing with. So, to begin, let's start with, I have started with I sat down and I came up with some data that I thought would be pseudo-relevant to making some charts that would make sense. You know what I mean? So I have this list of stores and I haven't even built an app with it. So I'm just going to go to AppSheet and say, cool, make an app for me really quick. If we look at our monthly sales here, you can see I've got a year, I've got a month, I've got what store it belongs to, the sales total, and the ID. So that's our list of stores. Let's add in our monthly sales. And then we can begin diving into the nuts and bolts of how do we get a line chart to work. Okay, so the really nice thing about how QuickChart is set up is it's designed with, you can come here to this sort of live builder type of thing, and you have a live preview of what your chart looks like over here. And then this over here is literally the code that you need to use in order for this thing to work. Now, what's nice about this is this gives you the ability to where you can adjust these things live and see how they change. So like, for instance, like we come down here to the title option, right? And it says chart.js line chart. So I can say my chart here, and you can see now that's affecting this little thing up here, right? And you can see the display is set to true. And if I wanted to, I could just turn it off. And then now if we look up here into our data sets up here, you can see we have two data sets. We've got this first data set and the second data set. And so if we look over here, we have first data set, second data set. And like, what happens if I turn this to true? Hey, look at that. Well, that's kind of fun. If I change that. All right. Now, if you come down here inside each one of these data sets, the individual data set by itself, you've got the label, the background color, the border color, and the important part, the data, right? So like, if I wanted to make this a +8, if I wanted to make this a +80, you see how every time I change the number, these things are changing over here. Like if I change the last one to a 50, well, let's change this to a 5. Yep. Or how about a -55? Whew. See how it's live updating. So when you come to QuickChart and you find a chart that you want to work with and that you like, the thing to do to like figure out how I'm going to integrate this into my app is to come to this live chart preview here and start looking at all of the code over here on the side and figure out where are the bits that make whatever work, right? Okay, so we're talking about, I've got two data sets here. And so like, I'll get rid of one of them. Okay, so now I just have the one data set. So it's easier for me to work with, right? And like, obviously the data here, this list of numbers is what's happening over here. So if I wanted to make that list of numbers based on some child record numbers, right? The idea is I just need to replace that part of all of this with the numbers from the thing over there. Also, you'll notice on our chart, not only do we have the individual point, but the point also corresponds to a label. they're not connected together. It's not like, here's the label, here's the value, here's the label, here's the value. It's not how it works. If you look over here, you can see I've got this list of values, and then I have this list of labels. And you'll notice everything in here is 1 for 1. And so like if I connect these things together like this, you'll see the distribution is exact for exact. See how that works? Okay, so the idea is then I need to create a list of the labels, and then I need to create a list of the values. And as long as the labels and the values are in the same order, we're good to go. Follow me? You have to make sure that those things line up. This is where it can be a little to make sure that you get it right. Okay, so let's take this chart and let's go to our AppSheet app, all right? Now, let's see. What do I got? I have my stores and I have my monthly sales. Let me change these to their appropriate things. So a year. I have a month, which is text. The store needs to be a reference to the stores. And this is a price. That's the ID that I don't want to see. And we'll do that. All right. Now with my data set up like this, when I go to the stores, I have, related monthly sales. So if I go to this store, here's all of my monthly sales. So now if I come here and we like, all right, I want to sort this by year and then sort this by, or group it by year and sort it by month type of thing. That doesn't work because now it's alphabetical. Okay. So, all right. We can fix that. Just come over here and we go to our month, and instead of leaving this a text, turn it to an enum, and we have to specify the list, because if you specify the list of values for an enum, the order that you specify them is what's used for grouping, as long as it's not allowed to add new things. So I just need to come in here and be like January, February, March, April, May. Clicks. All right. See, now I've put these in order, and as long as I leave these things turned off to where I don't allow other values, if I come back here and save this, you see how they were already put back in order over there. Now January is first. Yes. All right. So if we look at our stores, January, February. Okay, perfect. Now all of this store's stuff is in order. Okay, fair enough. All right, now what do we need to do? All right, so I'm trying to create a line chart out of this, right? And what I really want to do is I have 2 years worth of data. I have 2020 and 2021. So if we go back to our chart, and if I turn this back to what it was originally, all right? So I've got my 2 data sets. So in order to get this to work, right? You can see that each one of these data sets has, each one of these data sets has its individual list of data. So that means that I'm going to have to create a list of all of the sales numbers for 2020, and then a secondary list of all the sales numbers for 2021. So I have to separate out this list of child records based on the 2 groups that I want. How do I do that? I prefer to use a slice myself, since I know the groupings that I want. Like I'll come over here and I'll say, give me the monthly sales, where it's like 2020 monthly sales. And then it's where the year equals 2020. Just like that. Yep. And then I'll copy this. It'd be like 2021. Right? Just like that. Okay. Actually, I should leave these open. I need to copy the names. I'm going to save it so it propagates. Okay, so now I've got these data subsets of the individual sales records, of the individual monthly sales summaries for each year. So now what I can do is I can come in here and I can say, copy the name of this slice, go back to my store, and then down here, so this column right here is the master list of all of the items. That is every monthly sale record for whatever store record I'm looking at, regardless of the year. What I want to do is I want to create a copy of this that instead of using the root table, it uses this slice that I just created. So what do? So come over here copy the name of the slice that you want to use, go back to here, and then come into the ref rows formula for the original column. And this first part is the name of the table that it's pulling data from. So paste the name of your slice here. Don't save this. We're just doing this because I just want, this is the formula that I need. And so I'm just using this formula as an easy way for me to get what I need. Like, I'm done with that now. Pop it here, wait for it to validate, and then I can change this. I can say stores 2020 sales. And if I show you what this looks like now, if we go and we look at a store, right? So I've got the related monthly sales with 24 records on it over here. But then if I scroll down, I've got another virtual column that only has the 12, and it's only the 2020 records inside here. Booyah. So that gets me that first data set separated out, right? Okay, now out of this data set, now I need to extract the actual price values and make that a list of the values. Because again, if I go back here and I look at my chart that I'm trying to make, I need to get a list of the values that I want as an individual list, just like this. So back to my app, come here. So I have my stores 2020 sales. I'll copy this. And what I need to do is I need to derivative out of this. So if I come here, drop the name of my column, then I need to derivative out of that its list of prices. So the easiest way to do that is just go back to your sheet, copy the name of the column, come back here, and you put it in square brackets. The key here is no dot. Since we're doing a list dereference, the list doesn't use the dot. It's only, that's the key. And so if I save this, you can see it's a list of prices, and I can say 2020 sales prices. If I save this, we can see what this looks like. So now if I come down here, yes, here we go. And if I change my list, okay, it is set to a price. Perfect. Okay, so like you can see now, right? Now I've got this comma separated list that corresponds to all of the values that are up here inside what's going on. You with me? Okay, so that list is now the data set for the first data set that I want, right? Okay, but there's another list that I need to make. I'm not even talking about the second data set. Just for this first data set, there's another list that I have to make, the list of the labels, right? If I go back to my chart code, so now I've got this list of numbers ready to go, but I also need to create this list of labels up here. The method that I use to create that list of labels is the exact same thing that I did to create the list of the prices. Follow me? It's the same thing, a list dereference. And I just need to take this and make a new virtual column. So like, I'm just going to copy this formula here because this is largely the syntax I need. I just need to change this column. So I'll make a new virtual column, drop my formula there, and then I just need to change to this column. This is what I'm trying to look up. And so I'll drop that into my secondary part, wait for it to validate. Happy days. And now you can see it's a list of enum. Yes, which means it should put them in the right order. So this is monthly sales labels. There we go. All right. Now I'm not labeling this column 2020 because the labels are going to be the same for both data sets. And that's another thing that you have to kind of make sure that you're doing. Where when you're graphing data, right, you need to make sure that you're apples and apples here, right? Because if you need to do something different, that's a different chart. You can do that. Absolutely. You can do amazing things with this. That's not what I'm showing you right now. I'm just showing you a very simple integration. Okay, back to our thing. So I've now got a list of all of the months. I've got a list of all of the prices. Okay, so now that I've got these two derivative lists here, I can now take these lists and I can put them inside this code here. So like, let's get rid of this secondary data set and let's just stick with creating a single one for now. So what am I going to do? All right, well, I'm going to copy all of this. I'm going to just copy this whole code, and I'm going to go back to my app, and I'm going to create a new virtual column, and I'm going to start a concatenate. And then I'm going to paste all of that inside here. All right. Now the thing to do is notice all of these are encapsulated in single quotes. So that means that I need to wrap all of this in double quotes in order to encapsulate all of that text inside a string value. Okay, and now you can see now the system will take what I did, and if I test this formula, you can see it's literally just the whatever I wrote in there. It's just spitting it out like text. Everything is the same. It's not dynamic yet at all. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through how do I make this chart code dynamic. All right, those two lists that I have, I need to replace this list right here, and I need to replace this list right here. So what am I going to do? All right, I'm going to come here and I'm going to select the list that I need to replace, and then I'm going to delete it. Okay, now I'm inside of a double quote string, and so I need to stop. I need to exit out, and I'll drop this way down, and then I need to restart it, down here. Okay, point being, what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to concatenate together all of this code stuff in the beginning, and then that list of months that I have, and then some more code stuff in the middle, and then that list of prices, and then some more code stuff at the end. So that's what I'm really doing here. So I have this code stuff at the beginning, and then I come down here and now I say I want to insert this monthly sales labels, because that's going to give me my list that needs to go inside this labels. And if you wanted, you could, keep that inside this thing up here so that it's nice and like, okay, the labels are inside the labels. All right, moving on. We come down here. The next list that we need to replace is this list of numbers. So again, what do? I highlight the list that I need, hit delete, exit out of the double quote that I'm in, drop down, open the double quote back again, because this thing down here is that last code bit that I need to keep. But I need to put inside here this list of numbers. So come down here, get your list of prices, insert that thing. There you go. And we can clean this up a little bit. Just like that. All right. So now if I test this, so this is what it looks like originally, right? Where it's just got January through July, and it's got whatever these numbers are there. Now, if I come to our test, we can see our list is now January through December, and the data is now all of these numbers. Now you can kind of see like, all right, well, it looks like it's not putting a $sign in front of this. I'm probably gonna have to figure out how to add the $sign in front of that. And all right, now another thing, notice that the labels inside here, they're not encapsulated inside any kind of quotes or anything. That might be a problem, because if I go back to my chart, notice the labels are all inside of a single quote. Tick. I might have to do that for all of these things. But okay, let's test this and see if the system will accept what I'm doing, right? Let's see if this will work. All right, so now this concatenate formula is not enough to make this this whole thing work. There's some key bits that you have to have. One of the key things is there's a beginning prefix that you have to put on. I'll go grab that in a minute. But the real key to remember is you have to wrap all of this stuff in an encode URL, because you need to encode all of this as a URL, otherwise it's not going to work. So I'll come into my formula and say encode URL and go all the way to the bottom, and I will close my thing. Let's see if it validates. Yep. Okay. And then, so that's all of the actual code. Now, if I go back to QuickChart and I go to the home page, it's the easiest place to get this. Right here on the home page, this little thing right here is what you got to put at the beginning of all of that code stuff in order for it to work. So just come here and copy this, go back to your app, put that up there, put an ampersand on it so that it concatenates this with all of this. And then we should be able to test this. And then this resulting, this big thing here, we should be able to take that and drop it into a URL. Okay. Yeah, see? January is not defined. So it doesn't like the fact that each of my labels is not wrapped in a single quote. All right. We got to put that in there. Fair enough. What do we do then? All right. Well, we're dealing with lists, right? We're dealing with this list here. And so the easiest thing that I could do is, all right, well, I know what I have to do. Okay, so I know that I need to basically take this giant list here. I'm just giving myself some space to work with. And I need to do the same thing that we do when we're taking a list and making it a bulleted list. If you want to know how you could take an enum list and make a display column that would show you a nice bulleted list for that, I have a video that eventually I'll probably throw a link here or down in the description. There's a sample app that shows you how to do it, but it's the same idea. What are we doing? We say we start a concatenate, and then we put the first little thing that we need to do, and then we substitute out the comma separator for our list with the thing that we actually want to use. So here we are inside of our formula. So what do? We say we're going to start a concatenate. I'm going to concatenate a single quote as the first thing. And then I'm going to bring in a substitute. A substitute to substitute out all of these space, comma, space with a single quote, space, comma, space, single quote, and then close it. The point being, and if I put a comma, the system should accept that. Okay, number of parentheses doesn't match. This, it might be because of the single, I bet you it's because of the single ticks. I bet you that's the problem that I'm running into, because I bet this looks like it's correct. So if I come here and just check my closing formula, yep. Okay, so I'm betting what the problem is this little thing right here. I'm betting that is causing a problem. Like, doing things like that can get weird. If you do it the other way, if you do a single tick and a double quote and a single tick, that doesn't cause any problems. But a double quote, AppSheet's built for citizen developers, so it's built for, like, well, people aren't really doing things the right way. Like, you know what I mean? Or the official, way or whatever. And so they've built a lot of things inside AppSheet to kind of compensate for certain errors that people would make. And this is one of the things that they've done where the double quote has some other things that are going with it. So, okay, what do? All right, well then what I really want to do is I want to substitute out inside my code. So like this little code bit right here, that's part of my chart. It all uses single quotes inside the items. Like inside, where it says type and then line is encapsulated in single quotes. I want to switch this to where that's encapsulated in double quotes, and then I can wrap the whole thing in single quotes. Boy, we're getting in the weeds here. Oh man, I did not expect to get into the weeds like this. I thought this was going to be a lot faster. But all right, this is good stuff. All right, so what am I going to do? So I'm going to basically, for this little section right here, I'm going to go bit by bit. I need to reverse the double quotes and the single quotes. For every double quote, I need to change that to a single. For every single, I need to make it a double. So that's what I'm going to do going through all of this right now. So like starting here at the top, this would be a single quote. Then this would be a double. This would be a double. And there's no more. And that closes it. Okay. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do the same thing for this data set down here, but I'm going to do this an easier way. I'm going to come here to a text editor And I'm going to say find and replace. Like, if we come back here though, all right, so now I've got everything reversed now. So all the inner parts use a double quote and the outer parts use a single. Okay, so now I can come to my concatenate and I can start switching these things around. So I can say single, double, single. And then in here for this part, in the substitute where I'm saying what I want to substitute out, I say single quote, double quote, because that's going to close the opening thing I started at the front. Space, comma, space, double quote, because that opens the next one, and then close the thing. Will this validate? Hey, there it is. It's always something. Like, we're off in the weeds of what we had to do here in order to solve this problem, but you can clearly see there is a definite difference between a single quote and a double quote. And with a double quote, there's something else going on inside there. Because like literally all I did was reverse all of these things and it fell in place. So there's clearly something else with double quotes, right? All right. Now, if I look at this, if I do the test and I grab this resulting URL and we give that a test here. Okay, so we have an unexpected token at whatever that is. All right, well, let's go and look and check out our formula. So if I'm going to break it out of here and I'm going to put it back in, come to here so we can see, is this whole thing correct? Okay, so QuickChart, the blah, 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 whatever, encode URL, concatenate, and the concatenate closes down here with this. Yes. Okay. Now let's debug and make sure that everything has quotes and things that it needs where it's supposed to be. So single quote, double quote, single quote. Okay. So this concatenate opens a single quote and then it'll display one of these items. And then it should replace the space, comma, space that separates these things with a quote, space, comma, space, and a quote. So this quote here closes this quote here. And then this quote, oh, that's it. That's what I forgot. I need to close the quote after this last one. Yep, that's what I forgot. That's what I needed. The whole idea being like if I show you what we're doing here. So it's like we've got a list of, let's just say, numbers. So it's like 1 space comma space, 2 space comma space, 3 space comma space, 4, right? Okay, so like what I'm really doing here is I'm saying I want to take this list, right? And I'm trying to wrap each item inside of a double quote. So that means that like I have to do a double quote here at the start, and then I can replace this with a double quote, space, comma, space, double quote, right? But then that leaves this ending one without the quote. So I have to have a quote at the very end as well. That's the meat and potato of the error that I fell in here. So if I take this, put it there, and test this, wait for it to validate. Going really slow. Don't want to validate. Okay, we'll save. I don't feel like waiting for that thing. All right, let's see. All right, so now all of this gibberish, if we change this virtual column to an image. Oh, look at that. The chart worked. Oh, man, don't you like it when things work? Okay, so if we come here, now check it out. If I make this a little bigger so you can see it a little easier, right? And like this is based on all of the data that's inside the thing that's going on. That's cool. So like this is specific for this record. So like let me change the store detail to where instead of the photo, we'll do the chart. And then I can like, yeah, see? All these different stores, all the charts are based on the data inside the system. Don't you like it when things work? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna only cover how to do a line chart on this stream, seeing as how it was taken so long to get here. In future streams, I will cover how to take this and turn it into a bar chart or a pie chart or this or that. And I'll cover some of the other ones. I didn't expect this to take so long. My bad. But I'm not done yet. I want to take this chart that I've made and I want to change it. Now I've got that second set of data that I want to include. How can I get that second set inside here? And like, how can I finish some of this? Because like, if you look like because if you look like my first data set, well, I don't want that to be my first data set. That needs to be the label of 2020 because that's what those are. So look, there's still some little bits that I want to finish, right? So what do? We're going to go to our virtual column. I'm going to give this a good name. Store monthly sales chart. We'll give it a nice name. All right, now I'm going to come to my formula. So I'm going to work in Notepad just because it's easier. All right, what do I need to do? So I've got my labels here, right? I've got my data set. Okay, so here inside the data set, this is where I find the label. So that's what I need to update. You know what I mean? And I know what this is, so I'm just going to do 2020. But like, if you wanted to make that dynamic, you would do the same thing that you did for all of those other things. Highlight the part that you want to be dynamic, delete it, exit out of the code, right? Because you're in a text code thing. You're in a single quote. So exit that, give yourself some space, and then insert whatever you need that label to be. So like, I know that I need to extract the year out of those records, right? So I've got 2020 sales. I've got the sales prices. I've got the labels, which, you know, is universal all across the board. So what do I need to do now? Well, I need to extract out of this virtual column here, another piece of data. I want to know what's the year out of this. So I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to say 2020 chart. No, I'll call this data set label. And the idea is I just need to extract out of this. If I go back here to my monthly sales, I want to extract the year. But I don't want this to be a list of all the years because this is going to be 12 instances of the year of 2020. I don't want that. I want this to be a unique list of numbers so that there's only one here. If there is two, then okay, it'll give me two. And I'll be happy with that. That works. But like 2020, right? So now this becomes my label. And yep, sure, whatever. And I just take this 2020 data set label, come back to my chart code, find the label, right? So my first data set, highlight it, delete it, exit out of the quote, the string that you're in, drop down, give yourself some space, and enter back into the quote. All right, so now everything in between these single ticks that you made is where you put whatever you want. And I just need to drop this label here, just like that. Oops, just like that. And I'm gonna put it all on one level like that, just so it stays clean. Yeah, you can't find it because I haven't saved the label. This haven't saved yet. But now stores. We turn this back to the chart. My data set here now has the label 2020. Now the cool thing is like that label is dynamic. So if that list of subset records that I'm using to create this line, if those things change to where now there's 2021, the data set will adjust for that. It'll say 2021, 2022, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? All right. Okay. So where are we at now? We're at a point now where the chart works. Just about everything's dynamic, and I've got one data set inside there. Now I want to add in my other data set. What do I need to do in order to make that work? The thing to do is to go through and look at what it took in order to make the first data set work, and you need to copy those for the second data set, right? So if I come here and I look at these columns, I've got all of these columns. Yeah, I have these columns that are all unique, that are specific to the 2020s. This is the actual list of records. This is the list of like data points I need to do. The labels I don't need to extract again because I know they're going to be the same for both of these. So I can leave that alone. And then this down here is that dynamic label for the actual data set inside the thing. So I need to have 3 of these for 2021, which means I need to go make one of these slices, which I already did, thankfully. So I just need to copy the name of the slice, come back here, and just start copying things. So come to this 2020 sales, come in here, change the name of the slice that I'm dealing with, copy that, make a new virtual column with that formula that I just got, wait for it to validate. Cool, give it a good name. I'm just going to copy this column's name and change the number to 21, right? So that's the first thing. And then since the other 2 columns I need to make are derivatives, I will save this virtual column. That way, when I'm building these 2 other ones, the formula will validate. Otherwise, it won't be able to find the column. Copy this column, come to my 2020 sales prices, come in here, change the first part, copy the column, and then make a new formula. All I'm doing is copying here, and I'm just changing this first bit. And like I'm saving, because I just want to say, I want to take this name, and I want all my names to be basically the same. So I'm following the same sort of, that was the wrong column name. 2020 sales prices. I want everything to follow the same sort of structure. You know what I mean? That way it's all systematic in names. All right, so that's the prices. And then I need the label. So I'm going to copy. I'm going to come over here, copy my list of 2021 sales data set. Sales. Oh, okay. Yep. Stores 2021. I copied the wrong name. That's my bad. There we go. So this is 2021 sales, and then this needs to go in there. Store 2021 sales. This is 21 sales prices. And then the 2020 data set label, I need to copy this for the 2021. Make the new column. Wait for it to validate. Can't find it. Yeah, I know. I know, because I haven't saved yet. So this is the 2020 label. And so this just needs to be 21. Save it. So it'll all propagate. Okay, so now that I copied those virtual columns, I have all of those other data points that I need, and I can include that secondary data set branch inside my code. So if I go back to the QuickChart, right, and I kind of reset this back to the way that it was, that'll get me the easy way to find out what do I need to do in order to, like, how do I need to set my code up, right? Well, I just need to copy this, and like this little data set thing, it's literally the exact same thing. Literally the exact same thing. You can see some of them are out of order. Like on this top one, the fill thing is up here at the front, or at the bottom, but here it's somewhere in the middle. So clearly, the actual order of these things inside the data set code section maybe doesn't matter. Keep in mind. I don't know if that's going to be helpful or not, but whatever. It's good things to keep in mind. So I'm going to come to my chart code. Okay, and what is it that I'm trying to do? So I've got my data, my labels. I know the labels are going to be the same. Okay, it's here after the data sets. So it's from this curly bracket to this curly bracket. That is the bit that I need to copy for another data set. So I'll copy that, come down here, and I'm going to insert that. And I'm going to indent that so it's nicely indented. Yeah. Okay. And now, all I got to do is change these columns and we're done. So this is the 2021 data set label. That's that one. And I've got the 2021 sales prices. That's this one. Wait for it to validate. Save it. Save it. See if it works. Hey, look at that. All right, so let's change the color then, right? So on this secondary data set, right, you can see the colors are controlled by this RGB, blah, 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 blah. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So like, I want the background, I want the border color for this one to be blue. I want the border color for the first one to be red. Like, I'm just going to replace it with the word. I'm not even going to bother with the RGB. I'm just going to use the word. Totally works. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you can create a basic integration with QuickChart to have a live dynamic thing that's based on whatever you're doing. Now, this can get dynamic, as in push a button and it's changing things. As in, like, I've got the ability to, like, move a thing up by, you know, like move a dot point +1 by pushing a button. You'd be like, and watch it go up. QuickChart is so good. It's so powerful. You can do so much with this. But like, here you go. That's the basics of making my chart. You can see now, like, the points are still red or orange or whatever they are. So like, I could change those if I wanted to. Like, if I come in here to my code and I change the background color, like, I'm going to make this black. And I'm going to do it for the same for this other one. All right. Come in here, save it, see what it looks like. Now I've got black points. Happy days. So that's QuickChart. It's amazing. I have plans. Yet another project. I have plans to create a fully expansive QuickChart builder. You know what I mean? Like, this sort of system would lend itself really well to having the ability to be like, select from a drop down the different colors, push this to do whatever. You know, like, it would be really nice to be able to configure a thing using some sort of configurator type thing that then just spits out the formula that you need to use. And then you could just copy the formula into your app and run with it. So I have plans to build something like that. But there's a whole lot involved. There's a lot going on with QuickChart. As you can see, like, it took us a while. It took us almost an hour just to get this one line chart to work. From here, like, once you get these pieces in place, like, that's the hardest part of getting the QuickChart operation to work, integration to work, is getting all of these little pieces that you need in place in order for the system to work, right? Because, like, I have to have these things prepared ahead of time in order for the system to have it. And like, when you get to really advanced sort of integrations, it actually gets to the point to where on each of the line items, I need to prepare a little bit of code for the whole chart on the individual line item. Like, eventually it gets to that point to where on the line item, I need to create all of these things, all of these data point lists and things. And then I can take all of those and create just that one little section of data. And then I can take that code and then, like, put all of that code together. And then now I've got this giant thing. I'm going to continue on with this QuickChart integration. Everybody just let me know what sort of awesome things you'd love to be able to see, what chart types you want to see. There is a community for QuickChart that is fantastic. This is the place to go to get all of your answers. That is the place to go. Legit. All right, that's all I got for this little section here on QuickChart. I do see that there are some questions in the chat. Let's move on to those.